Now there is something called how we can assign the blocks to the streaming multiprocessor. How we cannot, how they are actually assigned. It is not in our hand. So we just decide the blocks, that there is a block and block has certain size. Now the thing is, all the blocks are assigned to some of the streaming multiprocessor. As you know, in a CUDA device means in a GPU. In a GPU, you have multiple streaming multiprocessors. So, depending on how many multiprocessors you have, the blocks can be assigned to these multiprocessors. You know, if you have n number of multiprocessors and more than n number of blocks, in that case, some blocks will be there where two or more. Some streaming multiprocessors will be there where two or more blocks will be assigned. No problem. Means depending on the availability of streaming multiprocessor and assignment of and requirement of blocks, these blocks will be assigned to streaming multiprocessors. Here in this image, you can see, for example, if we have two streaming multiprocessors. So for this streaming multiprocessor, we are assigning 3 different blocks, and for another streaming multiprocessor also we are assigning 3 different blocks. So a number of blocks that are assigned to a streaming multiprocessor will be device dependent, because it will be the device which will let us know how many streaming multiprocessor it has. Okay. So is it possible for you to know how many streaming multiprocessor a device has? This is my question, you have to answer.
No, sir.
You cannot know? If I tell you that yes, there is a method to know how many devices you have, how many, what is the number of these streaming multiprocessors or other kind of properties are there which can be accessed. For this, you have to see that we have some functions for querying the device properties. First function we are going through is CUDA get device count. Okay, this CUDA get device count will help you in finding the number of CUDA devices on your system. If you will use it, it will tell you how many CUDA devices we have. How will it tell you? You will definitely have a variable. Sorry. Let us say you will have an integer variable, dev count. So you will pass this the reference of this variable, this function. So this function will set the value in this device count. Okay.
Sir, we can use this function CUDA get device count normally, sir. We have to include any extra library for this.
Library is CUDA.h you already are using, no? In your C program, when you are writing some header files, you are including CUDA.h kind of. So from there it is available. Any other question? Was it clear? Or is it network problem? So let us assume it was clear that CUDA get device count is a function which can be used, and library is CUDA.h if I'm not wrong. Then there are some other functions. What these functions are: CUDA get device properties. So now you have the device. Device count you have, that these are the device, these many device we have. Okay, then you can find out the property of each device. Okay, so for finding the device property, you are calling CUDA get device properties. This is a variable where the device properties will be set, and here you are giving a value, an integer, showing you want the property of which device. Okay, this is the device number, I should say. For this particular device, you are asking for the properties. So it will return you so many properties, and accordingly you can use these properties to decide the resource assignment or your maybe your thread organization kind of thing. Okay, so let us discuss some of the properties which are returned from here. Although, okay, so some of the properties you can see it is max threads per block. Okay, I am writing here dev underscore prop. Dev underscore prop is the same variable that I passed here. You can see it is of a type CUDA device prop. Awaz is not coming. Okay, no problem. It might be a network issue. Here we are discussing something about the CUDA device properties. Now, is it audible, Abhijit? Okay. So here you have a variable dev underscore prop of type CUDA device prop, which is a CS structure where you can store different properties of the device. So when you call this function CUDA get device properties, the structure is sent there. In this structure, all the properties are set. Now you can access, you can see the name is dev underscore prop. So if it is a structure, you know how to access the properties, the variable name dev underscore prop dot max threads per block. So now what it will return, it will tell you the maximum number of threads allowed in a block. Okay, usually you know maximum number of threads in a block as we have read, it is 1024. So depending on the device, it may change. Maybe for the current state of the art device, it is 1024. Earlier, it was 512 or less, or in future it will be more than 1024. So if you are programming something according to this property, that program will adapt in the future as well. So now device prop dot multiprocessor count. This will tell you how many streaming multiprocessors you have. So if you have the count of how many streaming multiprocessors you have, accordingly you can design your this thread organization. You know, it will Help you in programming, nothing else. So dev prop is max threads. Okay, max thread dim. It will tell you number of threads allowed in each dimension. You are writing max threads dim 0, max threads dim 1, max threads dim 2. So max threads dim 0 will tell you the number of threads allowed in X dimension. Max threads dim 1 will tell you number of threads allowed in Y dimension, maximum number of threads. Okay. Similarly, for 2, it will tell you in Z direction. Similar is for the grid size. This was the number of threads in a block. Now here it is max grid size. Max grid size in X dimension, max grid size in Y dimension, and max grid size in Z dimension. You can access it using max grid size 0, max grid size 1, and max grid size 2. So these are certain properties which you can use in your programming. Now another thing is in a block you have so many threads. The threads can be around at least less than or equal to 1024. Okay, somebody is saying आवाज कट के आ रहा है. No problem. That is why I am recording this session, and this video will be available for you. So thread scheduling. Here I am telling you that we in a block we have multiple threads. However, there will be a limitation of a streaming multiprocessor. As we have already studied, there is something called warp. The size of the warp is 32 threads. Why it was so? It was so because it was the limit of a streaming multiprocessor. A streaming multiprocessor may have 32 processors only, streaming processors I should say. So this is the current situation, current state of the art, where the warp size is 32. Earlier it was 16, and in the future it may be 64 or more. No problem. So for now, if we can understand that one block is having several threads, now we have to divide this block into warps. One warp having 32 threads. So we are dividing a block into groups of 32 threads. We are calling this group as warp. The size of the warp is implementation specific. Implementation specific means device specific. You can also find out what is the warp size of your device. You will just write dev_prop dot warp size. You should understand for these variables the first character was small, and the first character of next words are capital. That kind of thing is warp size. H is capital. So this will tell you the warp size of your current device. So let us assume one warp is designed with 32 threads. Now you can understand, as we have seen, in a streaming multiprocessor, how many threads can be assigned. Okay, can you tell me, you have to answer, how many blocks can be assigned to a streaming multiprocessor?
Can you tell me? I'm asking, you have to tell me
how many blocks can be assigned to one streaming multiprocessor? Am I audible? Okay, somebody is saying, Gaurav is saying 16. Okay, anything more?
So actually 16 is actually, as we have seen in the last slide also, that it is device specific. Okay, how many blocks is required in our program, how many threads we are going to launch, according to that how many blocks we are designing, and then these streaming, how many streaming multiprocessors we have. If at all we are having 10 blocks and we are having thousands of streaming multiprocessors, in that case one block will be assigned to one streaming multiprocessor. If we have 1000 streaming multiprocessor and we are using 3000 blocks, in that case 3 blocks may be assigned to each streaming multiprocessors. So let us assume here is a streaming multiprocessor and we are assigning 3 blocks to this streaming multiprocessor. Okay, let us consider the first block. Okay, let me tell you, if at all we are assigning 3 blocks to one streaming multiprocessor, in that case it is something like we will have to have a scheduling algorithm. This scheduling algorithm will help us which blocks should be executed and which to schedule this blocks. Before that, I am telling you that these blocks are divided into warps as well. So let us assume this first block. In this first block, we were having so many threads. So what we are saying is we are dividing it into 32 in a group of 32. We are calling this first warp. The thread from 0 to 31 is in first warp. 32 to 63 is in second warp, and so on. So in one block we are having multiple warps. Similarly, in each block we are having multiple warps. So if I will tell you that assume each block has 256 threads, okay, and 3 blocks is assigned to this streaming multiprocessor. Let me repeat. This is a streaming multiprocessor. 3 blocks are assigned and each block is having 256 threads. So total, how many warps will be there to execute on this streaming multiprocessor? You have to answer me.
$256 by 3. No, okay, wrong. Try again. Eight. Okay. Okay. Okay, some 32 threads in each warp. Okay. We are saying 32 threads in each warp. One block has 256 threads. So in one block, there are 8 warps. Yeah, it is true. In one block, there are 8 warps. However, in this streaming multiprocessor, 3 blocks were assigned. In one block, if at all we are having 8 warps in one block and 3 blocks are assigned, then total how many warps are assigned to this streaming multiprocessor? Yeah, definitely 8 into 3, 24 warps. So now this
streaming multiprocessor has been assigned 24 warps. Very good. So that is why we have read something like warp scheduling. Okay, there are multiple warps to execute on this streaming multiprocessor. So we will have to schedule these warps. You also remember something called SIMD model. This GPU that we are studying, we are trying to use this SIMD model where we will have single instruction and just we are changing the data. So for one instruction which will be executed on all the streaming processors inside this one multiprocessor. So that is what I was telling you in this slide, that the blocks are further divided into warps, and these warps are scheduled on this streaming multiprocessor. So now you can also understand why sometimes synchronization will be required, where you can understand that all the threads are not executing at the same time. Do we need thread scheduling in each warp? Actually, not that much required. The thread scheduling in one warp. One warp is 32 threads which are executing at the same time. So all the streaming processors are executing the same instruction, only the data is different. So there you don't need scheduling, because they are 32 and you have 32 processors. So yeah, you may need synchronization, that you execute these 32 threads and ask them to wait until all the threads of this block have executed. Okay. So here in this session what we have learned is we have already seen how the multidimensional data are mapped to each thread. We have seen that you can use synchronization __ sync threads, and then you have used you have seen how the thread blocks are assigned, where you have seen that if you have same number of streaming multiprocessors and same number of blocks, then one block can be assigned to each streaming multiprocessor. However, if you have more number of blocks than the streaming multiprocessor, in that case more number of threads, one or more or two or more these thread blocks can be assigned to one streaming multiprocessor. You have seen you can query the device properties, where you can find the device count by using the CUDA get device count, and then you have seen something called CUDA get device properties, which will return you the device prop structure. In that structure you can find different properties such as max threads per block. You can find out how many multiprocessors are there, like dot multiprocessor count, or there was something called max threads dim or max grid dim. You can also find out the clock spread there. You can find out grid size and those all the things. So several properties are there. You can see these things in book, as well as the CUDA what we call it, library. So you can find the warp size we have seen, and accordingly you can use these device properties to design your thread organization. So for today we will stop here, and then in the next lecture we will try to see the memories actually, where you will see that there are something called registers and shared memory inside, and also a global memory or something called constant memory. These all things, memories are there in the device side, and you can use this device side memory to optimize your function, kernel function. For now, in kernel function, you are using just the global memory, we call it RAM. But there are certain other memory parts also which you will be able to use. So in next lecture we will try to understand that, and we will try to also see matrix multiplication. What I am saying is, for matrix multiplication, it can be done right now also using a global memory. However, if you will see some more things in the memory, it will be easy, or I should say efficient, to implement the matrix multiplication kind of thing. For now, I believe you have two assignments that is in your Google Classroom. First assignment was just addition of two matrix may be of same size, and the second assignment was conversion of colored image to a grayscale by launching a thread for each pixel. Okay, so that's it for today. Now you can ask your questions.